What's up guys, JayzTwoCents here. You know what I haven't done in a long time? That is a Q&A that I pull straight from Twitter. Every now and then I get some really good questions, usually some silly ones, and then some that are just way too long to answer in this series, but it's been a while since I've done this. We're gonna go ahead and do that today. We're gonna do an easy video, and then we are gonna get this week kicked off with some really good stuff. Obviously, we got some new AMD stuff coming. We've got some stuff with Far Cry 5. We'll be doing a further investigation of our minimum spec series, and we got a lot of things happening. So I just wanna kind of start it off with something a little bit more lighthearted and fun, and answering, obviously, your guys' questions via Twitter. Not Facebook, I don't do Facebook. I don't do Facebook. Do you want to be cooler? Do you want to be more desirable? Well, you're in luck because right now you can own your very own JayzTwoCents swag and immediately be the cool kid on the block. Max out your sex appeal by following the link down below. Now looking through these, there was a bit of a theme. A lot of people were asking a lot of car questions, which is actually kind of cool because in 2018, we are gonna be doing a lot more car stuff here on this channel. I don't think it's any surprise that I am as much a car enthusiast as I am a tech enthusiast. So if you see that kind of a theme here, I can't help it. It felt like a huge amount of these questions were actually related to cars. So the first one here actually comes from another YouTuber. His name is Armando Ferreira, and he asked, what are some things you don't like about your new Camaro? That's one of those things that, and if you guys aren't sure what he's referencing, I actually have a 2018 ZL1 1LE Camaro, which is an extremely track-focused car. Believe it or not, the list of things I don't like about it is probably as long as the list of things I do like about it. For instance, it's extremely expensive on consumables. I've already put 3,300 miles on the car, and in that I've already gone through a complete set of tires, almost an entire set of brakes. I don't know how many oil changes, because obviously we change the oil every time we track the vehicle, and I have gone to a whopping 2 track days or 9 hot lap sessions, 20-minute sessions, and yeah, the car is extremely hard on consumables, but that's because we're driving it like it was meant to be driven. Jakob Danja asks, what is more enjoyable, working on your car or your PC? Do you see the theme here? I enjoy working on both. It depends on my mood. The nice thing about having multiple hobbies is the fact that when I'm sick of one, I can go on to the other. When I'm sick of both, I then just obviously do more family stuff. But I like both equally in completely different ways. They scratch an itch or they rustle a different Jimmy inside of me. And is that right? Were we doing that? Is that what the cool kids say? We rustle Jimmys? Okay, well, I guess I'm lit. Epic Izzy says, of all the GPUs you've owned, which one is your favorite and which one pushed the tech forward the most significantly? You know, it's really hard to say because, I mean, each generation of graphics card has about the same interval of performance increase. AMD's always been a little bit behind NVIDIA, at least since the Fermi era, which is like the GTX 400 series cards. But I'd have to say Pascal is probably one of the biggest advancements in terms of efficiency that we've seen in a very long time with graphics cards, which I think has made it a lot more, well, before graphics card prices got inflated, a lot more applicable to many people because you didn't need high-end power supplies and super beefy power supplies to run extremely power-hungry graphics cards. You could do 1080p gaming with a 1050 or a 1060, and you could get away with a 500 watt or a 400 watt power supply and not have a problem. But the most technologically advanced, I think, graphics card we've seen so far that hasn't performed as well as we were hoping though was actually Vega from AMD. I mean, it was HBM2, obviously we had the Fury cards, which are HBM1, but they've actually been really pushing the envelope on advancing technology. We just need to see an improvement, obviously, on the overall power consumption and you know, the actual performance out of Vega. So I guess we'll have to see what happens with obviously NVIDIA's version of stacked memory or HBM, high bandwidth memory, to see what's gonna happen in the future. So I know I'm gonna mutilate your name, I'm sorry, is it Guillaume? Yeah, I wanna say Guillermo, but I know that's not right. He says, considering what we know about Primo Chill View, would you recommend it? And if so, would you put some kind of warning recommendations on when and how to use it? First of all, Primo Chill does put warnings on View on how long to use it, and basically, you know, they kind of give you some guidelines there. The problem is those kind of came out after a lot of the problems started, so people had already bought it. What I've got right here is my Threadripper build I did last year that actually has the same view in it that's been running all along with no problems. But as I've showed in other videos, I did have systems where it reacted poorly, like my day-to-day editing rig, which completely gunked up and turned into like a pasty material. But we also had Nick's system, which was running the original green fluid we tested that didn't have any problems and actually cleaned the blocks. So as you can see, there's a huge variance in reaction depending on the parts that are in your system, the metals that are used, the variance of metals between the different manufacturers. So it's really hard for me to say what your use would be like, which is why it's kind of recommended only for like a showpiece and probably not a good day-to-day fluid. Jimmy Champagne, who also has a channel and stuff about horror, asks, my favorite Friday the 13th. If you guys don't know, my real name is not Jay, it's Jason. Jay is short for Jason, and I have always been a huge Jason Voorhees and Friday the 13th fan, having watched all of them multiples of time, gone to fan expos. I even have a screen accurate Jason costume that I wear at Halloween time, usually make the news because it's so real. And my favorite movie has got to be part 6, simply because it's so ridiculous the way that he comes back to life, or zombie Jason has become kind of known forward, is, no spoilers, if you guys haven't seen it, it's like 35 years old or whatever, but I digress, guys. It is probably one of the most ridiculous ways a villain comes back to life, and I think that is what makes it my favorite, to be honest. Oculus Nay says, when will the Post Malone build be done? I should have the chassis back in the next week or 2, tops. Then the build can start. Completely custom, absolutely nothing like it on the market. Yes, it's based off of obviously the Spectre case from Singularity Computers, but this one, as we talked about with the last video with him, is completely custom. His album is dropping on the 27th of April. He's going on tour, so we've got to get the build done so that when he gets back from tour, it is totally ready to go. But it is going to look like nothing you have seen before on a PC, trust me. Will Johnson says, do you think you'll do a video on getting used video cards or maybe even looking at last gen cards to do a future video? I don't plan on doing a series on how to buy used graphics cards, only because the market is so different in every different part of this country alone, let alone the world. But I do revisit new titles with old hardware all the time. It's a new series we started. It's our minimum spec series, Will It Run kind of a series, where we take really low end computers and find where the sweet spot kind of is in terms of getting that magical 1080p 60 FPS number. So the answer to your question, kind of a short format, is yes, we will be doing older hardware with newer stuff as we move forward. We've been doing it, and we're gonna continue to do it. Kyle Metier says, what makes you roll your eyes the most and go, really? The most in life? It's this new age wave of entitlement, 100%. Jose Luis Lopez says, what's your background in gaming? What consoles did you grow up with, and what game series were you most loyal to, or was it always PC gaming? No, I played console and PC both growing up. My very first console was actually an Intellivision. That's like back to the Atari era. And then obviously I had an NES, SNES, and PlayStation and all that. And I had PC gaming along at the same time. I was a huge fan over Aces Over the Pacific and Aces Over Europe, which was obviously a World War II fighter pilot game. I was also really heavily into the Resident Evil series on console. I played that on the original PlayStation all the way up through the consoles after that. I just really got into Resident Evil. Probably goes back to my whole love of Friday the 13th and other zombie type stuff. So I don't know, I just really liked that series. How long have I been married? I got married October 15th, 2005. So I am actually coming up on my 13th year anniversary. Yes, 13th year anniversary. Been with my wife almost 19 years total. Yeah, I think we've sort of smashed the statistic. And each other. At least twice. Victor Pino says, what's the next step for the studio? Is it where you want it to be, or are you still moving stuff around? We're always moving stuff around. We've actually just this last week, we changed stuff on behind the scenes that you can't see, trying to come up with more space and new sets. It's always gonna be a work in progress. Peanut says, when you're old enough to retire from making content, do you hope one of your kids will carry on the legacy of your channel? To be honest, I hope my kids form their own legacies. I don't want them to walk in my footsteps. I would be perfectly fine with them creating their own personas and doing their own thing. Obviously, my oldest daughter wants to be a YouTuber. I think most kids do these days, which is kind of weird. If they wanted to carry on my legacy, more power to them, but I don't want them to feel like they have to. I want them to create their own legacies, if that's not a cliche enough answer. Here's a good one. David Freeman says, wad or fold? Well, I fold, and I fold. And then you know what? I wipe, and I wipe, and I wipe, and I wipe, still poop. Nick Poole says, if you could go back and tell yourself something about the direction your life took after leaving your job to do YouTube, what would you say and what advice would you give yourself about the future? Absolutely nothing. I would never go back and talk to my old self. I feel like that would meddle in the future more than actually help it, which means I would probably never end up where I am today. Not only that, I would probably end up going insane, seeing myself come up and talk to myself claiming I'm from the future, which would then put me in an insane asylum and none of this would ever happen. This video wouldn't be happening right now and you would have never asked that question because I never would have existed. It's called the butterfly effect. We don't flap our wings on this side of the world. No, seriously, I would never go give myself an old piece of advice. Everything we experience makes us who we are, and I need to experience it without any meddling, let's put it that way. Matt Gibbs asks, what do you think most likely happened to Bitwit Kyle's loop? I feel like he might have had some sort of an issue happening maybe with his pump, or maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say because I wasn't there. I haven't seen his system in person. I haven't seen the way how well the tubes fit in the fittings. I have no idea what the O-ring condition was. Sometimes you put tubes in O-rings that you clamp down, you could slice the O-ring by accident, but given the amount of splash there was, it's pretty obvious that the pipe popped off while the pump was still running. So we know the pump is working, but it could have built up pressure. I've seen this happen before in other systems where a fitting and a tube will just pop off and then suddenly it throws up all over the system. I can't say other than it's obvious it built up too much pressure because it had been running fine for about a year, I think, without any sort of issues. So I honestly have no idea. Joel Paulino says, would you do a fan fest as Linus is doing? You're talking about Linus Tech Expo? No, I don't think I have enough fans to ever even fill a cafeteria, let alone any sort of a conference center. But I will say this, I'm actually gonna be attending Linus Tech Expo. So if you guys wanna come and say hi, I'm just gonna be there hanging out. And if you guys wanna come and say hi and meet me or Linus or anyone else, then head on up to Vancouver in July. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Steven Chavarria says, why do you advocate water cooling so much and how did you get into it? Why does anyone like anything? Why does someone like the color red? Why does someone like fast cars? And why does one guy like a fast computer while the other guy's more into airplanes and this guy's into trains? We don't know why we like the things we like, we just know that we do, and water cooling has always been one of them. I like the idea of taking liquid and using it to cool electronics. I mean, there's an inherent risk here, obviously, that I find a bit exciting. I mean, ask Kyle, he's had how many leaks now? But no, to be honest, it's just a thing I like, and I advocate it because plenty of people have had good success with it. I've never had a system just blow up on me, but I've also got a lot of experience, and I think, I don't know, something I'm always gonna do. I did liquid nitrogen last year for the first time, which was amazing. I still have all those parts, and I might play around with that a little bit more in the future, but it's like anything else. You like it because you like it, and you don't really argue with that. Let me see if I can find any more good ones, because that was the last of it. So with that, guys, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna probably try and do this like once a month. This is fun. I like talking directly to you guys. It shows that there's real people on the other side of that camera, and obviously there's real people on this side of the camera. So, guys, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.